Bret Green, known as Dad Got Bars, is a viral rapper, Emmy nominated actor, and unapologetic truth teller about the real, raw side of parenting. His heartfelt track, Seven Layers, which was a tribute to his wife's C section experience, has touched millions, opening up an entirely new lane for fatherhood to be expressed with rhythm, reverence, and radical empathy. Through clever wordplay and deeply personal storytelling, Bret is reshaping how we talk about dads, masculinity, postpartum realities, and the emotional labor of parenthood, topics often underrepresented in hip hop and media. He's not just dropping bars, he's breaking cycles. From viral rhymes to real talk, how Dad Got Bars is rewriting fatherhood through music. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thanks so much for having me.
Love it, Bret. I've been looking forward to this one. I mean, your voice is a powerful one in this cultural shift. So let's chat the power of seven layers. So your viral rap, Seven Layers, isn't just catchy, it's actually sacred. You turned your wife's C section story into a public love letter. I mean, it resonated far beyond dads, mothers, doulas, nurses, and birth workers. And they've reposted it with tears in their eyes. You really struck a chord. So, what inspired you to write that piece? And what did it feel like when you realized it was going viral for something so intimate?
Gosh, I didn't expect it to go so viral. April was C-section Awareness Month. My wife just had a C-section in January this year, so not long ago. And I thought, let's revisit that. But like from my perspective, what it was like for me to see her and kind of feel so helpless there as a dad. And yeah, it was incredible the response I was getting, mostly from women who have experienced it, even women who haven't experienced it. It was just, for me, I had no idea what a C-section truly entailed. Our first child was a vaginal birth, and so I was kind of fish out of water in that operating room. And so to kind of go back and revisit that, not only what I went through just sort of as a bystander, but of course what my wife went through and just the recovery, how incredibly difficult that was for her. I wanted to just see if anybody else could relate, and clearly a lot of people did.
Yeah, a lot of people related. I mean, that level of vulnerability, especially from a dad, is incredibly powerful. It validates so many women and shines a light on an experience that deserves reverence, not silence. Now, let's chat masculinity rewritten, because essentially this is it, right? We're in a moment culturally where masculinity is being redefined, and you're right there at the front lines doing it through music. How has becoming a father changed the way you view masculinity, and how intentional are you in challenging outdated norms in your lyrics?
Gosh, I feel like as a country, as a society, as a world, we're really at this like crossroads where we could either go one way and keep progressing, or there's obviously a large number of people who kind of want to go back in time and go back to this traditional life kind of idea. And I'm all the way in on the progressive side. I think let's continue to do things differently than our parents did. My I was raised by both my mom and my dad. And I think my dad was a good example of what a man is, but definitely was more of like, I'm gonna go to work and make the money, and could barely, make a grilled cheese sandwich, throw a little bit of pizza in the like a frozen pizza in the oven kind of guy. And I was just like, I don't want to be that kind of dad. I want to be the dad that can make a really delicious meal for my kids, that can and will change diapers and get up in the middle of the night with my wife and be there for every bedtime and every 2 a.m. feeding with our newborns. I just, and it's not just like for my kids, it's for my wife. I feel like out of respect for her, I don't think it's fair for a mom, no matter what the relationship is in terms of like who's paying the bills or who's making the money and who's raising the kids. Like we don't have this like clear cut, I do this and you do this. It's like it's fluid. You know what I mean? Like, where do you need me? How can I help you? How can I support you? Especially when you're recovering from a major surgery like a C-section, or you're going through postpartum depression, or you're just stressed out, you know what I mean? From like the mental load of being a mom and all the things that come along with that. So I think I've really doubled down on how can I be a modern progressive dad and then try to show other dads kind of how that works and sort of lead by example. And I'm realizing like a lot of men, whether it's ego or pride or whatever it is, they don't want to hear it from another guy. And so I try to make an impact in men's lives, but I'm realizing I'm probably going to have a much more impactful message to share with women. And so that's kind of what I've leaned into is I just want women to feel seen. I want them to feel heard. I want to talk about topics that maybe we haven't talked about in the past, and just show them that there are good men out there, and even if your husband doesn't do these things right now, maybe you could show him some of my music and be like, well, hey, this guy's doing this. Like, and not to be like a barometer of like what's supposed to be like a good husband or a good dad, but I just think I think it all comes down to respect. And it's just
Oh,
I want to respect my kids and I want to respect my wife.
uh, who are you?
I'm dad got bars.
Your dad got bars. I mean, you said all the perfect things. You must have been a woman in another life. I mean, that's the kind of modeling we need. Men showing strength through empathy, through presence and emotional depth. I mean, you're helping to shift the blueprint. So thank you. Now let's chat the connection. I have to say, it's no coincidence that you're featured in this Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift. Their post-surgical recovery mask is used by women after C-sections, breast surgeries, and even aesthetic procedures, supporting healing and reducing bruising and restoring that confidence. So we're definitely going to get you and your wife some product. But your music does something similar in an emotional sense. It helps people process, recover, and feel seen after life-altering experiences. And that's what that song did, that rap about C-sections. But did you realize your music was becoming a form of healing for others? And how has that reshaped your sense of purpose as an artist?
Only recently, yeah. I started releasing music only for a year, really. I mean, I've been doing music since I was in college, since I was a kid, but I really have been taking it seriously, especially in this lane of like fatherhood and parenting in the last year. And the first probably 5 or 6 songs that I put out were lighthearted. They were about doing laundry and why won't my kids listen to me? And they were a little more like lighthearted and fun. And then I started to kind of go deep on, like, obviously the C-section song was extremely deep. I started getting these responses from women who would message me and they was like, "Oh my gosh, like I feel seen. I feel heard. Like, thank you. I'm watching this with tears in my eyes." The first song that I ever released that really made me feel that way was a song of mine called Married Single Mom, and I didn't even know what that term meant. I had literally had a follower reach out to me. It's like, "Hey, can you make a song about this?" And I DM'd her and I was like, "Can you tell me more about this experience? Like, I don't know what this is." And she's like, "Oh, like I got stories for days." And she just starts feeding me all these stories about what it means to be a married single mom, which is essentially a married mother who's got little to no support from her husband. Um, who feels like she's doing everything. And so I kind of took what she said and turned it into a song. And so many women were just like, "Oh my gosh, like this is my life." And I just feel like women deserve the world. And so, like, if I can do like a little bit and do my part to like help be a voice, like, I mean, it's such a shame, but like sometimes a man saying it just hits different. Just because it's not another woman being like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes it just comes off as like, oh, men just like chalk it up as like, ah, she's complaining again about whatever. And it's like, no, like I can look at this and be like, no, this is actually a big deal. And we should be talking about this, whether it's postpartum depression or how
You love it.
maternity leave in the US is awful. Women get zero paid days. Zero. Like,
You're speaking my language, and that's such a powerful way to look at artistry, not just entertainment, but emotional recovery. You've literally tapped into something deeper, and the timing couldn't be more aligned. So let's chat breaking these generational cycles. You mentioned something earlier that you wanted to be a better version of your father, right? In your track, Millennial Dad, you talk about breaking generational cycles. That hit a nerve with so many, especially those of us trying to do parenting differently than it was done to us. So what does that look like for you on a day-to-day level? And how do you keep yourself grounded in the kind of father and partner you're choosing to be?
I just know that every generation evolves and progresses a little bit, right? And so if I can do things just a little bit better or like a little bit different to make my kids feel loved and supported and being intentional with it. I don't think that my dad ever sought out to like not be supportive or not be loving,
Right.
but he gave me the same kind of love that his dad gave him with a little bit of extra sauce on it, and I feel like I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing a lot of the same things that my dad did do for his kids, um, just with a little bit more empathy, a little bit more patience, a little more respect. And so breaking these curses, and my parents got divorced when I was a kid. And so that's a big one for my wife and I, is we're like, that's the best way for us to break any kind of these generational curses, is just stay together. Give your
Agree.
kids a mom and a dad in the house their entire childhood. Show them what a healthy relationship can look like. Show them that there's going to be tough times, and we can get through them. You don't just quit. You don't just give up. And that's not to discredit anybody who's gone through divorce. I know they can be tough, but I just really want to, I don't remember hearing "I love you" a ton as a kid. You hear it at like special occasions on your birthday or graduations or things when they're proud of you. But I mean, I'm proud of my daughter for putting her shoes on the right feet. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I just want to lift my kids up, and I have a son now, and I want to encourage him, like, it's okay to cry, it's okay to talk about your feelings, you can be sad, you can wear nail polish if you want to, you can do all these things, and just try to break through some of these gender norms that have been cemented into our
Yeah.
society for such a long time, um that to
Well,
me I just think are kind of silly.
I mean, listen, it's so refreshing to hear a man speak with that level of intentionality about fatherhood. That's the real work, the quiet daily stuff. So thank you for naming it, right? It's important. So let's talk about emotional language for fathers, because that's what you were just alluding to in terms of how you're conveying your message, right? Especially with your kids. Many dads, I know this for a fact, they struggle to articulate their emotions, especially in public or creative spaces. But you've created a bridge offering language for feelings men often don't express. So, how did you find the courage to be that honest? And what kind of responses have you gotten from other men, not women?
um I think in finding the courage to like to speak up about things that I guess aren't talked about a lot is just, again, it comes down to empathy and respect for not only my wife but all women who have been through these things. Um, you know, I I don't know, it's interesting. I just want to be a positive voice for all parents, whether it be moms or dads. And I have gotten some really good. I love when men, I love when men show up in my comments because it doesn't happen often. I mean, almost 90% of my following is female, mostly moms, right? And that makes sense given the stuff that I talk about. But when I see men show up in the comments, every now and then you get a really ignorant, toxic kind of comment. And I try to chalk those up as just like, that's an outlier, right? But most of the time, I get these other men who I feel like I would probably be friends with this guy. This guy seems like a really good person who heard this message and thought that was really cool. I want to reach out to him and say thank you, or say, "Hey, I liked your song." And that means a lot to me, and I always try to make sure to respond to all of those guys and say, "Hey, you sound like you're a good dad. Keep it up." Like we got to have each other's backs, just like moms got to have each other's backs. Dads do too. Like being a parent's not easy. And unfortunately there are these two different genders, and like men and women are totally different. So like while I could have all this support from women, it does still feel really, really good to have support from men too, because we just kind of we understand each other a little bit better. We share something. And so it is nice to hear. Like I said, it's kind of infrequent, unfortunately. One thing I have heard from a couple of women is, every one of my songs has the same tag at the very beginning. It's my daughter saying, "Dad got bars," and I've had a few women say they've tried to show some of my videos to their husband, and they hear the "Dad got bars," and they get like an eye roll from their husband, like, "Oh, here we go again, this guy." Um, And I'm not surprised by that. You know what I mean? Like they don't. No guy wants to hear like, oh, the dad that's talking about like how dads need to be better dads. But it's like, yeah, like someone's got to hold us accountable, right?
I love it. That kind of emotional leadership actually changes lives, Brett. And
I
for
hope so.
and
I'm
for every
trying.
and for every dad who doesn't have the words, think of it this way: you've given them a voice. So you're doing something great. So what's next for Dad Got Bars? I mean, you've opened a whole new genre. Fatherhood meets spoken word meets therapy. But it's clear this isn't a trend for you. It's a mission. So what's next for you and Dad Got Bars? How do you hope to continue inspiring conversations through your work?
Well, I'm really excited about a song I just had come out a couple weeks ago. It's called "Still Bleeding." It is a song about postpartum depression for moms who are still bleeding. You know what I mean? Who in that fourth trimester are, you might be home from the hospital and you've got the baby with you and you're kind of getting into the swing of things, but she's still hurting. She's still um not quite right. She's still bleeding. You know what I mean? And so I'm really excited about that. I think that's going to have a really big impact. And just continuing to try to be a voice and just an ally, a supporter. I had a I had a funny conversation with my wife this week. I was like, I have an idea. What if I just get like super ripped and go on tour and just sing songs about postpartum depression and C-section, and we do like a little Magic Mike thing, like a little Chippendales thing, because all my followers were women, and she's laughing. And I go, no, I'm being serious. She's like, yeah, you're not doing that.
Well, we're so ready for whatever's next. I mean, you've got the heart, you've got the platform and the message, and the world needs more of exactly that.
I couldn't agree more.
So thank you so much for coming on. You can follow him at Dad Got Bars on the gram and on TikTok and stream his music on all major platforms.